In this video, you're going to learn how to make a pencil skirt with a velvet fabric. If you look closely, you'll notice that there is nothing like slit at the back, but you can still walk comfortably with this skirt. This skirt is very easy to make. In a space of 10 minutes, you are done making the skirt. If this looks like what you're interested in, please consider sticking around. Let's dive straight into the video. Here is the velvet material I'll be using for the skirt. You can see this other part is actually very stretchy. For a plus size person, you need more than 1 yard, like 1.5 yards should be enough for you. These are the measurements required to make the skirt. You can go ahead and pause the video so you can go through it one after the other. The first step is to draw out a starting line. This starting line is also going to serve as your waistline. So go ahead and place your tape on that line, subtracting 1 inch for your band and come down by your hip line. Mine is 9 inches. I'll mark 9 inches and I'll rule a line across it as shown. So this part that I mark all the way down with my pencil, that is going to serve as my zipper allowance. So I'm going to use this paper to draft for the back first. After drafting for the back, I'll place it on the fabric and cut. After transferring it to fabric, I'll trim out the zipper allowance and I will use it to cut the front. So place your tape on the starting line, which is also your waistline, subtract 1 inch for your band, come down by your hip line and mark. The next thing is to mark your knee line. The knee line I'm working with is 22 inches. I'll go ahead and mark that, and I'll also mark the full length of my skirt. So go ahead and determine where you want your skirt to stop and mark it. Also mark your knee line. So the next thing is to label the lines. The first one is the waistline, the second is the hip line, the third is the knee line, and the last one is the full length. All right, so placing my tape from that line, from that 1 inch line for my zipper allowance, I'll go ahead and mark my waist circumference. The waist circumference I'm working with, quarter of it is 6.5, so I'll mark 6.5 and I'll also add 1 inch for my dart. So the dart is just going to be for the back. All right, so on this hip line, go ahead and mark quarter of your hip circumference. That is your hip circumference divided by 4. Whatever you have, go ahead and mark there. Mine is 9.1, so I just marked 9.1. Next step is to subtract 2 inches from your hip measurement. 2 inches from your hip measurement, like what you marked on your hip circumference, subtract 2 inches from it and mark it on the knee line. All right, so after marking that on the knee line, go ahead and connect all the lines together, starting from the waistline, connect it to the hip line, and connect from the hip line to what you have on the knee line and straight down to the full length. Then go ahead and cut it out. So on the waistline, you are marking your waist circumference divided by 4. On the hip line, you are marking your hip circumference divided by 4. On the knee line, you are subtracting 2 inches from what you mark on your hip line to mark on the knee line. So whatever you mark on your knee line, just go ahead and extend it to the full length. Next step is to fold your fabric into 2, like so. After folding it into 2, go ahead and place your pattern paper on it, like so. Arrange it properly and secure it with your pin to keep it from moving. So after securing it with your pin, go ahead and cut it out. You can decide to give like 1 inch extra allowance to it. It depends on you. It actually depends on the length you want. All right, so go ahead and cut it out. We are cutting the back first. So after cutting it, go ahead and divide it into 2 as shown. So divide the zipper allowance into 2. After transferring it to your fabric, go ahead and remove the pin so you can remove the fabric you just cut. Alright, so the next thing we are going to do now is to trim out the zipper allowance on this pattern paper. So go ahead and trim out the zipper allowance from it like so. So we are going to use this to cut the front. When I was drafting for the back, I added 1 inch for my dart. Alright, so the 1 inch that I added for the dart, I'm going to remove it here. I don't want the front to have any dart, so I'm going to remove it just like this. So go ahead and mark it like this. If you don't want to have that in front of your skirt, just do the same thing. But if you want to hold that in front of your skirt, don't cut this out. Alright, so I'll go ahead and label it front so you know. The next step is to place it on the fabric. Just go ahead and place it on your fabric like so. Make sure your fabric is folded into two. After folding it into two, place it on it like so and use your pin to secure it. After that, go ahead and cut it out. So cut out the down part, cut the side and the waistline. I was supposed to do this before cutting it out, but it's also the same thing, it's still the same thing. So what you have to do is just for you to place your tape from the starting line and come down by half inch. All right, so come down by half inch and mark, connect it slantly into this other side like so. So this is going to help to eliminate the bulge we normally have in front of our skirt. So by the time you fix your band to it, it will look perfect. All right. So make sure you do this first before transferring it to your fabric. After connecting it slantly, go ahead and cut it out, then transfer it to your fabric. We are done cutting the front and the back. The next step is to mark your dart. So from this line of the zipper, this is the zipper line. So go ahead and place your tape from it towards the inner part. Mark your nipple to nipple measurement and add extra 1 inch to it. Like your nipple to nipple measurement, add extra 1 inch to it because of the zipper allowance of 1 inch. All right. So place your tape from the starting line and come down by 5 inches and mark. Okay. So after that, go ahead and place your tape on that line like so. Mark half inch on one side and mark half inch on the other side. Then use a straight ruler to connect it into the 5 inches line like so. So connect the middle line straight into the 5 inches. Then place your ruler slantly and connect the second line into the 5 inches. Do the same thing to the other side. So after that, take it to your sewing machine and hold the dart following the line you just drew. So I'll take it to my sewing machine and I will hold the dart from the upper part down to the 5 inches line. I also do the same thing to the other side. Then I'll bring it back to show you how it looks. Here is how it looks after I was done holding my dart. I also went ahead to sew the zipper allowance of 1 inch all the way down. All right, you can see here. So from the beginning part, from this starting line, I came down by 7 inches. So that is where my zipper is going to stop. So from the upper part to the 7 inches, I stitch it with a very loose stitch. Then from the 7 inches all the way down, I use a normal stitch to sew it. All right. So the next step is to join both of them together. Go ahead and place both of them together, the front facing each other. Make sure the fronts are facing each other. That is the front of the bag and the front of the upper part, which is the front. Both of them are facing each other. Then go ahead and arrange it. Use your pin to secure it. Remember, we did not add any seam allowance to this. That is because this is a stretchy material. So there is no point adding any stitching allowance to it. So when you are cutting, cut with your accurate body measurements. Don't add any seam allowance to it. Alright. So after arranging it like so, what I'm going to do is to take it to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew from the upper part all the way down with 1 inch. That is, I'm going to subtract from my accurate body measurement because this is a stretchy fabric. Go ahead and do the same thing. Join with 1 inch all the way down. So here is how it looks after I was done joining it with 1 inch all the way down. I'll go ahead and flip it to the right side. So here is how it looks. It's beginning to look like a pencil skirt, right? Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and open up your zipper allowance. All right, so open from the upper part down to the 7 inches. In order to know the length of your band or how many inches you are going to cut for your band, what you have to do is to go ahead and measure the upper part starting from the first part of the zipper allowance, measure it all the way to the end, just like so. Mine is 31 inches, so I'll go ahead and cut a band of 32 inches, just adding 1 extra inch to it. All right, so go ahead and do the same thing. Here is it after I was done cutting my band. The width of my band is 2 inches. So the next thing is to go ahead and fix it to the upper part of my skirt. You can decide to iron a state to your band to give it some element of strength. All right, so I didn't want to add any estate to mine, so I'm just using mine like that. So the next thing is to attach it to the upper part of your skirt like so. Use your pin to secure it round. When you are done securing it round with your pin, take it to your sewing machine and sew it with 1/2 inch. Here is how it looks after I was done attaching my band to my skirt. The next step is to go ahead and fix my zipper. So it's looking beautiful already, guys. It's taking its shape already. So I'll take it to my sewing machine to fix my zipper, and then I'll bring it back to show you how it looks. So here is how it looks after I was done fixing my zipper. For the down part, you can use hemming gum to hem it, or you can use needle and thread to tack it. Anyhow you want to do it, just go ahead and do it to the down part. So here is how it looks. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video. Bye.